It's another week and another opportunity to hear me and David fight for supremacy in the growing phenomenon and utterly unique battle of wits known as fantasy football. If this is your first time listening, firstly, what the hell is wrong with you? And secondly, don't worry, as we'll briefly run through the rules now. Every week, me and David pick 5-a-side teams based on a theme chosen by the home side. The home side will alternate each week, but while the person playing at home will be given the opportunity to choose the theme and make their player pick first, the away side has the opportunity to cause an upset by bringing players into play that the others failed to spot. Both sides will also have a bench full of alternative players, but the opportunity to use only one as a substitute, as well as a manager who could end up being the difference. Once we've chosen the winner based on logic or whatever statistics we can find online, the loser will have to gift a prize to the winner via post. We've seen a few instances of Mourinho-like ruthlessness, but nothing could top last week as I set David up to fail with a theme designed from my own specialism of celebrity chefs, making a lethal blow as I overtook him despite previously trailing by a distance. I started strongly by playing my trump card of Gordon Ramsay in midfield, and despite David's efforts to dupe me with his infamous mystery picks, my knowledge for the subject saw me come out on top, something I'd failed to do towards the start of the series. David returns to the home side, but will I bolster my lead, or will he get things back to being all square? As the victor for successive weeks, my prizes are beginning to stack up. This time around, I received a prize that was topical to the previous 2 weeks, David sending me a make-your-own-meal during lockdown kit. However, it wasn't from one of the recognised restaurants and services. Instead, it was from Pets at Home, which is concerning as you might have guessed, you're not meant to eat the animals. As such, the box included a selection of animal food and a live parrot, but as you might imagine, I refused to eat any of it, primarily, as you might have guessed, the parrot. I'm not yet questioned David over this particular prize choice, so I will do that now. David, what was your thought behind the prize? And more importantly, what is this week's theme?
Sure. So I was just feeling a bit bitter, really, as many people following us on social media will know. I was deeply unhappy to not get a single goal from any of my left field picks, one of which was Remy the Rat from Ratatouille. So I thought, let's launch some food your way that not even Remy would touch.
Yeah, well, I can understand it. You were quite far in the lead a few weeks ago, and it's all changed, but it could change again.
Yeah, it's gonna have to coming into the final few games of the season.
Yeah,
I was 3-1 up. I've lost the last 3 weeks in a row, including one on my own theme, which was food mascots. So
that's something only I'd done before, so it's possible.
Yeah, so it'd be nice to get a win today, nice to turn it around. But I've picked the theme of sitcom stars, and I'm not sure that this plays into my hands particularly well. I mean, I like sitcoms. I've got a few options to choose from, but I also know that you very much like sitcoms. So I think it's like a mental game, isn't it? I'm trying to psych you out, beat you on a topic you're strong on, and then maybe that will send you spiraling.
I mean, anything can happen, and I think one of the things that you sort of have a possible advantage on is the fact that I'll get carried away and go, oh, but I really like these, and put them in, even though they probably wouldn't win. So I've got to be quite disciplined with myself on my choices.
Yeah, we're looking for some ruthless efficiency, I think, from my side. I think you're definitely going to have some passion picks. That's what I'm hoping for, and maybe I can make a case for some just cold, hard, strong football players. But I mean, anything can happen. If you win this one, it's not looking great for me. If I win it, I think that could be it. I think I could derail you completely. So it's a bit of a. I don't think it's last chance saloon, but I think it's a gamble that I'm hoping will pay off.
Oh yeah, no. Well, I'm never confident. Even if I'm 3-0 up, I wouldn't be confident.
Well,
technically that'd win it, but even then,
at that point, something's got to go really wrong.
Oh, but I'll find a way.
I mean, I was only winning when I was inventing new rules, and I haven't managed to convince you of any yet. So
that's sort of true, but still. So actually, that's another thing. What's your team name this week?
First, I think we should hear yours, mate. You are always the star of the show on this, and you often have to go second. So why don't you take all the time you want, and if yours are better than mine, I'll nick one of them probably. But
yeah, that's fine. It really I thought there's so much to work with for sitcom week because normally we'll sort of have something that's a bit like kind of focused. I mean, even like Marvel Villains Week, we'd have you could have anyone from Marvel, but they did have to be a villain. And when you think about the percentage of all the characters just filtered down to villains, that does take a lot away. But even then, I managed to come up with quite a few I was happy with. But this week, even though I had so much to work with, so many character names and so many sitcom titles, I didn't come up with that many. But I did manage to piece a few together, with a lot of them probably being not even sort of the bad ones, like the really, really, really dreadful ones. But as I do every week, I've come up with a lot of alternative options, mostly based on very poor puns. I've got Otmar Seinfeld, like Otmar Hitzfeld.
Okay, yeah.
That's pushing it. Pep Show, like Peep Show, but like Guardiola involved. Ryan Frasier, but spelt like Frasier, the sitcom.
Nice.
Freunds, like Stefan Freund.
Okay. You were scraping the bottom of the barrel, weren't you?
Yeah. Will Grigg and Grace.
Fine.
That 70s Joe, but obviously J.O., like the former City striker. Maxi, like Taxi, but Maxi Rodriguez.
No.
Black Agger.
Oh, no.
Daniel Agger mixed with Blackadder. This is quite a good one. Based on rising Derby star Lewis Sibley, I've got the Vicar of Sibley.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That's I like that.
Which is a step up. The US offside.
Okay, that one took a while. Yeah. That one took a while. Yeah.
It took a while for me as well, which you wouldn't expect.
Oh, written down, I reckon I would have got that instantly, but yeah.
The Hadge Duck split of it.
Oh, Christ.
The Mighty Coots. Paul Coots mixed with the Mighty Boosh.
Okay.
The In Behind Us.
Nice.
That's not that bad.
I like that.
It's actually probably one of my better ones. Jisung Parks and Recreation.
Yeah.
But out of all that, I've gone for the IT Count.
That's just for Dirt Count, isn't it?
Yeah.
Fine.
And I do really like Dirt Count, so I've got like a certain era of Liverpool's really forced into my team. Dirt Count, Max Rodriguez, Daniel Agger.
Yeah.
I'm really forcing through that very poor but weirdly iconic Liverpool era.
Success in Europe, not so much.
Yeah, anywhere. I should really though. I was hoping to have a lot of good ones this week based on the amount of things I could, the subject. I thought there'd be so much, but this game surprises you. What have you gone for?
Well, you touched on one of the ones I was going for. So I've got the one that I was going with as my absolute worst case scenario. Can't think of anything else. Is Pierce Hawthorne's from Community. Pierce Hawthorne.
Oh right.
But I did get a Parks and Rec one. I think that was probably the easiest one to fit in it, and I went like bang on the nose. Queen's Parks and Recreation.
That's very good though.
It's still QPR as well, which is I don't know. Yeah. Good, is it?
And it's actually a team, so it does work as a team name.
Oh, there you go. So it's worked out somewhat, I think.
Yeah, I think that's very good.
Oh, thank you very much. You've never said that before. Wow.
It's not quite the compliment it should be. My bar is very low, but it's still it's meant well. So.
Well, it's all. I think that's everything, isn't it? Before we get into the match, put the kit on and
we're ready.
Get this show on the road. First up this week, and I have decided to bring back an old favourite. We're going for Justice for Monica. So I've brought her back 2 weeks in a row.
Oh, God.
It's Monica Gellar from Friends in the exact same position at centre back. Anyone who hasn't listened to last week's episode and doesn't want spoilers, should have listened, but you can mute for probably the next 30 seconds. So I've picked her because I want a sort of sweeper of a centre-back, and Monica does have a propensity for cleaning. She's a commanding presence at the back. She's got a propensity for American football. And I think she's got a good intimidation factor back there. And I think she'd probably be I think she'd play out well from the back. So
yeah, true.
And, sitcoms, you got to really have someone from Friends somewhere. Otherwise, we're doing the whole genre a disservice. So that's my choice, Monica. We're going Justice for Monica.
No, that's a good pick. I weirdly didn't expect you to do that, but it's we can always have crossover. So there's fair play. I've gone for. I feel like it's kind of it's really a perfect meeting because I've gone for someone from another sitcom, which is also like one of the biggest sitcoms ever, and I'm pretty sure it was the sitcom. It was the biggest sitcom ever before Friends, and then it went on to be Frasier, and then Two and a Half Men, for some reason. But I don't know. I don't even know what. It'd be Big Bang Theory now.
Yeah.
But I've gone for Cosmo Kramer from Seinfeld. Because it's just a brilliant character. Sadly, he went a bit AWOL and then said something racist in some comedy club like a few years ago, so he ruined his career. But back then, he was like one of the best, comic talents in the world, and his character was just the whole. I just love the whole show because, there's so many different contrasting characters with a lot of identity to them. But then he just bursts through the door and then nearly falls over. And it's just he just livens everything up. I nearly put him as my manager because he can just come up with these mad scenarios, and he always manages to get out of things. If anything bad happens, he gets out of it, and he's sort of elusive, and he gets on with everyone, and he's just sort of like you can't dislike him. But I thought as a winger, he'd be very creative and just completely mental, and it'd cause problems to another team. So that's why I picked him.
I think that's a really solid start. Sitcom stars, and we've got Seinfeld and Friends. We've got Monica and Kramer straight off the bat. Wow. Any early feelings on who wins this duel?
It's a tough one because I do think Monica's a strong choice. It's so difficult that I'm already looking up who would win. Because it's just so hard to split, and I love the Kramer character. But then I do see what you mean, saying that the Monica character is very strong and would be the defender you give the armband to.
She's definitely got captaincy material. I mean, there's always the risk that I'll just bring her back next week as well until she gets a point. So. But Kramer's got that kind of eccentric hair that a winger should have.
He's sort of like a Socrates, where he'd just be like, I know I'm ridiculously skinny and not really athletic and look a bit mental, but it just works. I don't know. I'm not I don't know what sort of criteria we could use to split the two.
I guess.
We could do Seinfeld versus Friends in terms of success, but then I don't know. I think I'm scared because I think Friends might win. But
well, like number of awards or something, or
we could do. Just because I've already looked up Monica versus Cosmo, and it doesn't get anywhere.
Yeah. Because I think generally speaking, Seinfeld critically is held up slightly more than Friends, but I don't think it's unfair to say Friends probably edges it on popularity.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So
it's a shame with Seinfeld because it's such a massive name and it's so iconic, but I just feel like not enough people have seen it. It's such a good show. Okay, I've got, according to the featured snippet on Google, how many awards did Friends win? Returns with six Emmy wins. And 62 nominations, but then he won 6.
Wow.
Apparently, Seinfeld received 10 Emmy Awards.
Oh, ouch!
It's not the best start.
And it looks like it's been nominated for more as well. So
yeah, to be honest, I thought, well, this is me falling on my sword because, God,
what was winning then? Is that like Frasier, or is that the wrong?
I'm not sure, unless maybe it was a broad category. It's just TV show and some serious drama was winning, because I think things are a bit more like sectioned off now, where they sort of go best comedy that's 5 minutes long versus best comedy that's 6 minutes. And it's like, but yeah, I think.
Well, hey, I put forward that we should go for awards, and it's come back to haunt me. So.
I mean, I'll try and find something where you can work her in next week.
Yeah, I think if you go for People Called Monica,
yeah,
I've got half a chance. But
I can't think of anyone else, but I could try it.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have a
Courtney Cox characters.
Yeah,
it'd be that, and then when she was in Scream, and then
she her
Cougar Town.
Yes,
that'd be it.
Yeah, her.
But then that's it.
Her Instagram's though. She just does loads of baking on it and stuff. Like,
so she really can bake.
Yeah, well, she apparently. Here you go. This is a fun thing, because Monica's never getting back in my team ever again. Apparently, all those years on Friends, she never learnt to cook. Monica never bothered to learn to. Courtney Cox never learned to cook on Friends, and then when she finished, she was like, "Actually, I'd quite like to learn how to do this sort of stuff." So she's got quite proficient at cooking, but only after Friends. So it's like a happy coincidence. Unhappy coincidence. So that takes the edge off it, doesn't it?
And based on that, maybe you should have won last week, but I don't
know. Well, it's all right for you saying that now, but
it's that sort of thing. It's like when like when a team wins a match, and in the match they they win a penalty and they know it's a dive, and they're sort of like, I don't think it is, and shouting at the ref, and then afterwards they're like, well, maybe it was. And it's like, you're saying it now because it's too late.
Oh, never mind.
I know what you're doing.
Hey ho. Okay, well, I'm gonna start on the back foot then. So that is 1-0 to you. So we will move swiftly on to. I think we'll go centre midfield.
Oh.
So it's a change of pace, this one, because we're coming back to this side of the pond, and I've gone for a character from Peep Show, who famously ran to Windsor. I'm going for Super Hands.
My excitement couldn't be contained at you picking that.
He's like, I don't know, he's a character in it, so I think he'd do unexpected things. I could imagine him being quite a flashy sort of player, in the centre midfield, but also like has a nice kind of aggression to him. There's a good intensity about Super Hands, and then leaning heavily on the run into Windsor. Like
really, it's a very similar character to Kramer. Really, both like quite tall, lanky eccentrics that just turn up and steal the show.
Yeah,
I've kind of, for my midfield, it's already funny picturing your midfield versus mine because it's just completely different sort of player. I love the show Frasier, and I watch it quite a lot. And I sort of, it was sort of from the start of when we started the podcast, I know I used to put in a lot of players based on like, well, I like them, and so therefore they have to play. But I was trying to think be a bit smarter about it as well. And so instead of going straight for Frasier, which I was tempted to put centre back because of his big head, I went for Niles Crane in central midfield. And it's a bit of a risky choice, but I'm not sure if you've seen much of Friends. I mean, not Friends. Frasier,
yeah, I've seen a bit of Friends, and I don't remember Niles Crane in it, but
there's like a crossover episode. But there's an episode of Frasier where they go to the dad's like really into sport and stuff, and they're not, and that's how different they are and stuff. And they go to a basketball game, and there's a competition where it's just picked on the seat number. Somebody will be brought up to try and throw the ball into the net, and out of nowhere Niles gets picked, and obviously it's this quite small, weedy, timid, OCD guy. But he goes up and he gets it in one. It's just mad because he's actually got loads of sporting ability, but he just doesn't look like it. So based on that, I thought he'd be the type of person you'd come onto a pitch and you'd think he's got no chance, and then he wouldn't necessarily boss it, but I think he'd be like an Ozil and make a few interesting passes. But yeah, you've thrown me putting super hands against him because you don't know what he's going to do.
I can already imagine the type there. This is like a classic matchup where you've got like basically a bit like do you ever play football for school and you'd go to like play a different school? And
yeah,
it's a bit like when you rock up and you've got, I feel like Super Hands is the guy rocking up in like bright orange boots.
Yeah.
Niles Crane is turning up in sort of like classic black, maybe a bit of white on there. And you think, oh yeah, Super Hands is going to absolutely slaughter him. And then after the game, like Niles Crane's got like 3 assists. He's had Super Hands in his pocket the whole time. And you just like, oh, and you know, one of the teachers goes, see lad, that's why, you know, you've got ahead of yourself there. And you think like, sir, you teach maths, like leave me be. So, oh man, and then that secret sport and ability is throwing me as well, like because you just wouldn't expect it. And I think Super Hands is the type of character to like get overconfident and then just get absolutely embarrassed.
Well, is there any? I mean, I have watched Peep Show, but it was a long time ago that I watched in its entirety. Is there any episodes where he does anything to do with sport?
I was sort of relying most heavily on that running bit.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I didn't even think of that. To be honest, I mean that does make him very, very. I mean, if he can run all the way there, then that does kind of make it hard to.
His legs do turn to jelly. He is sat on the floor and he says he's a jelly. So I mean, I like to think that would be after the match. I like to think that's an indication that he's like plays the whole match and then maybe he's given his all on the pitch.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking based on 5-a-side. I mean, playing an 11-a-side match is probably easier than 5-a-side because you're just running constantly and changing direction constantly. If he can run that kind of distance, surely 5-a-side is perfect for him.
You'd think he could keep chugging away, but I don't know, man. You can keep chugging, but honestly, maybe I'm setting myself up for an Istanbul. We've spoken about it before. Has it happened? Has it happened?
I don't know if
has it happened?
I don't know if it has. It has with me over games, but it hasn't.
Yeah,
well, nearly.
I feel like we've gone 2-0, then 2-2, and then the person it's like tennis, you know, in the 5-setter. They rally, but ultimately lose. But I'm just thinking, Niles Crane is like it's like a perfect matchup, really, for you. I can't see Super Hands taking him seriously, and then I think, looking at the characters, I think Niles is going to embarrass him.
There's a lot of game to go. If you think Niles will win, then you know.
Look, I want to argue. I want to argue my way out of it, but I honestly, I don't believe my own case. I think it is 2-0. I'm starting to think this week was an error. Can we redo?
I think it might be too late.
Oh dear. 2-0, right, okay. We're going to go to my winger for the next choice because, to be honest with you, I think the best sub I've got would also come in on the wing. So if I'm to have a hope of pulling this game back, if you've got an absolute counter pick again, then I'm going to need to bring on a sub on the wing just to like salvage something.
Yeah.
But my first choice is good. And I have gone for Jessica Day from New Girl.
Oh, right. That's a clever pick. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah, so she's Zoe Deschanel and all that, as I'm sure people are aware. Yeah, she leans heavily during the show on having big eyes, which I've said would be great for vision, which you want out of a wide player. And she's also a very creative individual, which hopefully sending some crosses in, playing some good passes, all that sort of stuff, finding the opening. I think she's got the sort of like positive, never say die energy that I need right about now to try and keep us in the game. So yeah, and to be honest, like I like New Girl. It goes through a bumpy patch, and I don't know if you ever got it when you were watching it, but like E4 seemed to when it was on E4, it might still be. E4, like the timeline for it was so weird because it seemed like they'd play something from like half of season 1 and then randomly they jumped to like season 4. Then they'd be back to 3. And for the longest time, I was like, I have no idea what part we're in. You dropped in and it all felt like it was like where it should be, but you were like, I know this isn't right because there's like, it's like a glitch. I just didn't understand it. And then I finally watched it all the way through, start to finish, and your mind's blown. You can't believe where all of this happens.
Yeah.
So anyway, just good day out wide.
I actually did that with I did that with Breaking Bad because I watched the first like 3 series and then it's my own fault, but I like missed a few series and then I thought I'll just watch the last series or whatever. Or I think it may have even just been the last couple of episodes. And then I spent that just one of them things where I just thought I might as well see how it ended. I wouldn't do it now because I wouldn't want to ruin it, but I don't know why I did it then. And then I just remember thinking, God, where's Hank and stuff? And I was like, God, he mustn't. Maybe he just wasn't in it. And then when I watched it all the way through, I was like, bloody hell, it all kicks off. The bit I missed, if anything, was the best bit.
Yeah,
it was where it all kicked off. Like even Hank in the hospital and all that stuff. And just there's so much where it just gets worse and worse and worse. And then Walter obviously goes off on one, and then I missed all the good stuff really. So my rating of that show massively changed when I watched it properly.
Jeez, that's so rogue.
I know. Completely unlike me.
Honestly.
But yeah, I'll stop delaying now. I got at centre back. I did have a few ideas, but I'll obviously not mention my subs just in case they come up later on. We should make a special episode where we go through all of our subs in case they've not been mentioned, because there's so many like interesting mentions that we didn't manage to use.
That'd be cool.
But yeah, from the options I had, I thought like I'm not going to go for someone who's maybe physically tough. I'm just going to go for someone who I think would be the right sort of fit and maybe just like a bit of a loony. So I've gone for Dennis Reynolds from It's Always Sunny.
Okay.
Because he's just mental. He's probably out of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It was if you ever seen interviews with the creators, they always sort of say that they wanted to make a sitcom where instead of the characters getting better and looking after themselves more as it progresses, like Friends or Seinfeld, where you could tell they got money and so they looked better and they were in better shape and they clearly went from being sort of like new actors to being like stars and like recognized names. With that, they wanted them to get worse, and if anything, they were instead of them all being like, oh well, we can relate to these, they made them as morally questionable as possible. And it really it's arguable who's the nastiest out of them, but it's quite endearing how vile they are as people. Like because all of them, none of them mean well at all. They all just want things for themselves, and they want they'll just do anything for money and whatever else. It's very, very controversial, but it's really entertaining. But out of all of them, really, I personally think the worst out of all of them is Dennis. And I do kind of think if the show was brand new now, it wouldn't probably be allowed to be made. It's only because it was started a few years ago that they're carrying it on. But he's just vile. Like he goes out of his way to. He's kind of just a nasty person. He even has what he calls the Dennis system, which is a way of sort of making women stay with him in a very like emotionally destructive way.
Oh no.
And he's just completely he's just completely insane. So I thought he'd be perfect as a centre back.
I mean, you're making a very strong case.
But at the same time, I know this is kind of shooting myself in the foot, but when I'm 2-0 up, I suppose I'm happy to be a bit more risky with what I say. But I mean, he is that mental. I'm not even sure if he'd play the whole match. I feel like he'd either get sent off or could just forget what he's doing. Because there's especially one episode where he goes completely mental, starts calling himself the Golden God. And then says that he's untethered and his rage knows no bounds, and just starts screaming. I'm not really sure. I'm not as confident as I was, especially against somebody like your pick that's kind of known for being quite calm and is sort of like a little bit eccentric, but not unhinged like Dennis is.
Do we think Jessica Day would? So obviously Dennis is not particularly pleasant to women. Do you think Jessica Day's got any chance of reining that in, or is he just irredeemable? I haven't watched a lot of It's Always Sunny. I've caught bits.
It's one of them shows where I think it's about series 3 or 4. Danny DeVito comes into it and it goes up so many levels when he comes into it, and it's kind of, if anything, now it's gone a bit too meta, where some episodes are like trying to, it's kind of like trying too hard to be like, well, we're doing this to be offensive, and therefore this is making a point. It's like very clever, but just try and be funny. It's kind of a tough one. If anything, I kind of think maybe playing a female against him is Achilles' heel, because I think if it was another man, he might sort of take it a bit more seriously, but because of how he is with women, he may not. He may sort of approach it in the wrong way and could end up making a fool of himself.
Ooh, okay. And Jess has got that charm, she's got a beguiling sort of charm where, like, I mean, there's a few instances in Nougat where she sort of disarms people.
Yeah.
So maybe she could be like you say, maybe there's some kryptonite there for him. Obviously we don't go out of our way to just pick men, but I didn't really expect him to come against a female just because just didn't no reason, and so maybe that is the one thing that could defeat him, especially one as content and level-headed as she is. I think he might be in a mess. So I just think realistically, based on that, I think she'd win. Oof. Well, you've said it now, so you can't take it back. So here we go. Comeback starts here. That'll make it 2-1 to you, but be afraid.
I am.
Of the 2 picks that I've got left, one of them was absolutely a passion pick, and one of them is probably quite a safe one.
Oh.
So I think I might throw caution to the wind. I'm going to go to Goalkeeper.
Oh.
And this is a passion pick. This is it's a character from Toast of London.
Oh, that's a very good show.
I love it. It's the thing that I think it's probably the show I like rewatch the most.
Yeah.
I just think it's so my humor. It's just like completely out there. I think the name's a genius. The character's a genius. Matt Berry as Stephen Toast is just next level. Apparently there's going to be a Toast in America.
Yeah, no, I saw that. I think isn't it going to win BBC as well, even though it's an ITV, like a Channel 4 show?
Yeah.
I think they're moving it over for that.
Yeah, so I think that would be incredible.
Yeah.
So I haven't gone for Stephen Toast himself because he's typically not that lucky and a bit bumbling. But, he's been name-checked now. But I have gone for Ray Bloody Purchase.
That's a very good one.
As my keeper. I've leaned heavy on the old keepers are crazy
part.
Oh,
yeah.
So he's a live wire. He's a loose cannon. I mean, like, he's got a gun and he shoots bullets into the ceiling, and he's like, I think in the pilot episode he was like doing reconstructive surgery on someone. It's either the pilot or it might be episode 1 actually. Yeah, Ray Cannon's just Ray bloody Purchase is just an absolute loose cannon, and he's also, I mean, physically he's a big guy. So put a big guy in goal.
He's kind of he'd be like a Ray Clements type, like absolutely massive, old-fashioned, has a mustache.
Yeah,
like Allison was for like a week not long ago.
Yeah,
and now he's not.
So mustache is a great shout. Actually, all the best players have mustaches, don't they? So that's who I've gone for. And if he gets me a goal, he gets me a goal. And if he doesn't, we've had fun, haven't we?
Yeah. It's actually, I've actually gone for another sitcom character with a mustache against him, and they're kind of, I suppose, they're sort of similar types of people in a sense. I mean, funnily enough, I could have actually put Matt Berry against you as Stephen Toast, and I was tempted to bring him on as a sub, but then by doing that, I was kind of, I thought, I mean, Ray Purchase tends to come out on top between the two, I think, a lot of the time. So I don't really think that would have been a good idea. I do actually have a hat trick of Matt Berry characters on my bench. I've got Stephen Toast from Toast to London, Dixon Bainbridge from Mighty Boosh, and Laszlo Cravensworth from What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah.
But obviously I won't be using any of them because I've mentioned them. What I have done is I've gone for, as I said, another mustachioed player against Ray Purchase. I've gone for Ron Swanson, sorry, from Parks and Recreation.
Oh, I knew you'd pick him. There's absolutely no way you weren't going to do that, and I knew you were. And
he's just one of them that's completely unfazed by things, and you could just imagine being very cold and just doesn't really think twice. He isn't built for it, I'll give you that. but then in five-a-side, who is? Doesn't matter.
Up top, you can carry someone. They can just
he's
a goal.
He's yet another Dean Windass, isn't he? We love a Dean Windass.
Yet another Dean Windass is like, I don't know, some sort of musical panto, I think.
Yeah. Or our secondary pug.
Only ever showing in Hull.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's a tough one, and it's two very different worlds, isn't it? Really.
Yeah. Shall I tell you my initial reaction?
What?
In a battle of the mustaches, I think it's close. I say it's close. I think it's probably Ron rather than Ray. And I don't think Ray's tomfoolery gets the better of the unflappable Ron Swanson.
You don't think?
This is painful, isn't it? Because I found goalkeeper. Did you find goalkeeper the hardest position to pick this week?
I actually really have with my goalkeeper.
No.
So not really.
Oh no. Because I found it so difficult to pick a goalkeeper. So you're gonna just make me feel like an absolute pillock for not being able to work one out and just going I like this guy, I'll put him in.
I think your pick was good though. I didn't even think of that, and I even had a toast to London character, and it wasn't.
It's like the best of a bad bunch, but there's yeah. Oh no. How can I try and swing this?
You could. I mean, if you determined that Ron had beat him, you could use your sub, but then you wouldn't have a sub for the last round.
The problem is, if I don't think there's anyone that comes in and beats Ron. I don't think I've got a good sub for a goalkeeper either. This might be it, Rob. This might be the first time a winner's decided before the fifth matchup.
I don't feel good about it.
Honestly, you've just destroyed it. I mean, even the one I got, Jess versus Dennis Reynolds, that was close. you've like counterpicked me in some places. I thought I could lean on the mustache, but Ray's not got the best mustache in this game.
It's a tough. It's when you bring it down to the mustaches, then you're in for a tough game.
If you asked people, an iconic mustache from TV, you've got Tom Selleck. So I could maybe have looked at Richard from Friends, but I can't put Richard and Monica on the same team. I'd upset Chandler.
Don't be ridiculous. That'd be so stupid. Then Howard Moon. That would be another good one.
He's not on my bench, but maybe. No. But then you are thinking you Ron Swanson's, aren't you?
Yeah.
It's happened, Rob. It's happened. Sure. Do you know what? It's happened. I'm fine with it. I got to say Ray bloody Purchase. Multiple times. I think once more for the road. But I think this is 3-1. I think Ron Swanson does edge it against Ray bloody Purchase. So 3-1. So you've officially won, but of course we'll play out the final matchup just to see if we can keep the 3-2 streak alive. But this could be a first of many things this week. Wouldn't that be nice? Not for me.
Yeah. Well,
not for me. It's soul destroying.
If it helps, the guilt's killing me too. So.
It's going to be 4 in a row. It's going to be, oh mate. Okay, well, striker then. Last up, and hoping to salvage a little bit of pride. So, I've gone to Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Oh my god.
And I've gone for, well, formerly Sergeant Terry Jeffords, but I think it's now Lieutenant. I think.
You actually won't believe who I've got in goal.
It's not him, is it?
I've got even better.
Oh no!
No, not even better, because I do like that character. But higher rank better. I've got Captain Raymond Holt from Brooklyn Nine-Nine in goal.
Brilliant.
They're both massive, though.
Yeah.
So it's hard to know who'd win. I feel like Captain Holt's I feel like he'd be the type who'd be able to stop a ball coming at him. But at the same time, like, Terry Crews is like surely close to being like an athlete.
He's huge. Did he used to play sports? Wasn't he? Didn't he used to play football, American football?
Oh well, that might get you over the line. Actually, I was thinking if we're going for rank, then technically.
Well, I mean, Terry Crews did used to play football.
I'm looking it up now.
Yeah, he was drafted by the Los Angeles Rams in the 11th round of the 1991 draft. He played 6 games with them, 10 games with the San Diego Chargers, 16 with the Washington Redskins, and he was also on the books of the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles.
I'm looking up if Andre Braugher played sport.
Yeah.
But I don't think he did.
Well, aside from that, as their characters, so I was going for pure power. It worked for me in the past. Like episode 1, Kingpin got across the line with pure power, and I thought this is a bloke who could launch a football.
Yeah,
straight like that's going to take some stopping.
But like you have Michael Antonio type.
Yeah, Michael Antonio, like if he was stood on top of himself in a trench coat.
Yeah.
But that being said, I can well believe that Raymond Holt would just absolutely no change of expression or anything, just like whip out a hand and it would be glued to it like Spider-Man. Do you know what I mean? You can see it. Well, you can see it happening.
That's what I had in my mind. But I mean, it is hard to argue with the fact he doesn't have any previous like sport, any sort of history of sport compared to your pick. It's a tough one.
I'm not sure. I think you're being nice.
No, well, I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It's a tough one because they are both like massive, and can't surely sort of they have a presence.
It does feel like Godzilla versus King Kong in that kind of like Battle of the Titans, like
The
they're
rest of the
just
players are tiny compared.
those two just slogging it out at one end of the pitch. Meanwhile, the rest of my team's been absolutely butchered. But there's Terry Jeffers just slapping away. Part of me wants to make a sub just to get another person on the pitch, really.
Yeah.
I think that's a very close battle, but I've already lost, so I'm sort of inclined just to like throw someone random in there in case we ever do like a losers episode, and then I can use them again.
Yeah, and to be fair as well, all of my picks really on the bench, none of them are really goalkeepers. So I'm sticking to this. I think.
Well, I think I'm going to throw any chance I had of salvaging any sort of joy. Not joy, that's wrong. Any sort of credibility from this. This has been a poorly picked theme. I wanted to take you on at your own game, and I realise why it's your game. I've been battered. So I'm gonna make a sub for the sheer thrill of it. I sort of referenced it a bit earlier with my team name pick. Well, the team name I didn't pick in the end. And I'm going to pick someone from Community just because I bloody love Community.
Yeah.
It was so like so good for the first few seasons, and then Pierce leaves because Chevy Chase had a falling out with the writer director, and like it still held its own, and then like I think the last two seasons were a bit like, oh, that's a shame. I mean, we're still hoping like 6 seasons in a movie, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I just think I wanted to talk about how I like Community. I think I wanted that to be out in the world on record. I want people to know that I like Community, and I'm not afraid to say it. And so originally this sub was going to be Jeff Winger, and he was going to go on the wing, and that would have been my whole argument for that. But I think it's bending the rules a bit because I've selected them in the opposite order here. So Jeff was going to be the sub, and this other guy was going to be the manager. Yeah. Hey, I've lost, so I'm gonna cheat, and it's gonna be fine, and I'm still gonna concede. I'm gonna go for full Community themed manager sub, all the lot. So we've got Jeff Winger as manager, advocating for Arbed. I mean, so you can see why it would have worked the other way around.
Yeah.
But Arbed would have been really good tactically. I'm sort of thinking here, maybe, I don't know, if I have to pretend like I think he'd score past Raymond Holt, they're sort of both a bit unflappable, they've kind of both got that sort of roboticness to them. He's very proficient at paintball. Actually, am I talking myself into this? He's very good at paintball. Arbed's had a lot of success with that.
Yeah. Well, I suppose he's a bit of a Niles Crane, isn't he?
Yeah.
Where you kind of go, okay, well, this guy's going to be crap, and then he's not.
And then with like a Jeff Winger motivational speech ringing in his ear, that boosts him. Yeah. Does it boost him to be better than Raymond Holt? Who knows? But maybe your manager really puts the nail in the coffin.
Well, I mean, yeah, I could.
If you need him, I mean, you can just sit there and.
I think I'm going to stick to it. To be honest, I'd be tempted to bring my manager on, but he's definitely not. He's not cut out to be a player. He's actually a very good manager though, because I've picked, and it's kind of a clever pick, I think, because he was a manager in the sitcom at one point. I picked Father Ted Crilly from Father Ted, because there is an episode where he manages the like pensioner priest team against like the Italian pensioner priest team.
Jeez.
So and he fixes it actually. So he's actually a very good manager because he's cheating the whole time. So so because of that, I'm going to stick to Raymond Holt in goal. But you put up a good argument, and I'm not really sure where to go with it, to be honest. I do kind of think maybe Abed would be a bit of a Niles, and would I feel like he sort of just stands still for ages, and you think, what the hell's he doing? And then somehow he'd score, and you don't really know what he's going to do.
But whereas Niles had super hands to deal with. Yeah, Raymond Holt, the man's a machine. I think you picked the best option in goal. I think you've picked the best sitcom character to go in goal. I mean, if I'm willing to go on record with that as well. So bring it on. I like Community, and I think Raymond Holt is the best goalkeeper in all of sitcomery. So sitcomery. That's its full title. That's what it stands for. So to be honest with you, mate, I think I'm going to lose this 4-1.
I feel very bad, but I suppose there's no arguing with it.
I think it's happened, especially with Father Ted as like backup in the manager. Yeah. I think if I was maybe thinking, I might have just edged ahead with Abed, you've got quite a good pick with managerial experience.
Yeah.
I think that's it, mate. I think it's 4-1.
And there we have it. A win for me. But did we get it right, or should David have won this week? Well, you can let us know whether you think we got it right or wrong via Twitter at FantFantFootPod, Instagram at FantFantFoot, and on YouTube on the official Fantasy Football podcast channel. You can also tune in to previous episodes of the Fantasy Football podcast on Spotify and all other major podcast platforms such as Amazon Podcasts and Google Podcasts. It may be the end of this week's episode, but we'll be back next week for yet another edition where it'll be my turn to pick the theme, and once again we can fight out to be the best at Fantasy Football.